Hey Kaiju fans, I'm Titanalante, and welcome to Wikizilla's, what's this called? Godzilla vs. Kong thoughts?
Early thoughts discussion. Spoiler talk.
Spoiler talk.
Yeah.
As you can very clearly see, this is Mechagodzilla. He is the third monster in the movie. So if you didn't know that, you should have read the title. I'm sorry. It said
and if
spoiler.
you don't know any more than this, treat this as your final warning, and we are going to go into spoilers here. So if you haven't watched the film yet, I highly recommend you do. It is available on most platforms. And yeah, so basically, if you're not into spoilers, this isn't for you, basically.
So let's go in overlay order. So introduce yourself, the king of the monsters.
I already introduced myself a little earlier, but just for anyone who missed it, hello, I'm the King of the Monsters. I am one of the editors on the site, and I also write the scripts for some of the videos, or at least contribute, and I've narrated the Godzilla Earth and Varan profiles. So do you want me to give my thoughts on the movie, or just introduce myself?
Humble Squid, introduce yourself.
I'm Humble Squid, one of the video editing goblins.
Okay, Koopa.
I'm Cooper. I am the resident British guy who everyone immediately notices my accent. I am an editor, administrator, and occasional narrator.
And I'm Golden. I'm the guy that's behind the Wikizilla logo on the bottom, the Wikizilla overlay. Sometimes I contribute to the scripts, and I usually just do voiceovers.
And that's all for today. Astounding Beyond Belief, who has been a regular on the live streams, is not going to be here because, what was the reason?
He's watching the movie again.
He's watching the movie again. All of us have watched the movie multiple times, I believe. I've seen it twice.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen it more than twice?
I've seen it 3 times.
I've seen it 4 times.
Twice on May still.
I've seen it once, but during that one time, to try and make the most out of the renting I did sort of rewatch significant portions, so I guess you could say I've watched it twice. I don't know.
Okay.
You've watched the important scenes.
Well, you know.
The scenes with Big Monkey.
I've watched enough to account for it being essentially twice, if that makes any sense.
All right, then let's get right into the discussion. Who wants to start?
Well, I guess I could, Humble Squid should. I'm sorry, I forgot Push to Talk was on.
Oh,
Humble Squid.
Okay, I'll go first. Non-spoiler thoughts first. I thought the fight choreography was great. I thought it's very, like, the scenes with Godzilla and Kong are very good. I like how expressive they are. Like, the monster parts are great. I wish there was a little bit more to the human story, but I think that's almost the universal feeling. But you know, the monster parts are great.
I guess I could go next. Non-spoiler thoughts. I thought it was very fun, but I realized that it's also kind of a guilty pleasure because it's not a good movie, but it's very enjoyable. The parts they wanted me to enjoy are enjoyable. That's the monster fights. But I really think they dropped the ball on the human aspect.
I would say that I share the sentiment here on this. The monster fights are spectacular. Mechagodzilla is really quite cool to see in action. And as a capstone, you could say, if this is going to be the last film in the MonsterVerse quadrilogy or tetralogy, it's a decent way to end it. But yeah, the human side of things was definitely a bit wonky in comparison to the monsters.
I personally loved everything about this movie to an extent. Like, I recognize the flaw, the lackluster human plot, but I feel like that was a very intentional choice on the part of the filmmakers because people won't stop complaining about the humans, whether the humans are good or bad. Everyone's going to complain about them. So this movie was just like, fine, you know what? You want bare bones human motivation and you want them just to drive the plot along, well, here you go. So I think this was a movie that really responded to the criticism of the human cast, and this is what we got. I think personally, I'm a kind of guy who likes the human, good human plots in my Godzilla movies, and I think the best ones have better human plots. But that being said, I think that everything is there to at least make it a complete movie, and the monster scenes are, of course, the highlights. And I think that this movie puts more emphasis on the monster scenes than any other movie in the MonsterVerse, and it definitely delivers in that respect.
I concur with King of the Monsters. I believe this definitely. There's reason to believe that they significantly rewrote and reshot some parts to minimize the human aspect. We saw some. What was it? A tweet or something that.
There were like a couple interviews and stuff like that imply that.
Yeah, so can we get into that? Someone has that?
Yeah. I don't know the specifics, but I feel all of the human stuff was cut because it probably wasn't working. It wasn't keeping things fast. So it's all of the characterization is kept to its bare essentials, and it's all in service of a film that's really exciting and fast-paced, and it's all just to get to the big slappy monster fights.
Yeah, so I know there's one specific thing that I know that was changed a lot. The character of Nathan, his actor in an early interview said that he was traumatized because his fiance in story dies, but in the final movie it's because his brother died. So I think there is a lot of cutting there.
Yes.
I know the actor who plays Ren said that he had there was like a full story that I guess they may have done part of where he had his motivation fleshed out. So I think I think that he's cut a lot of incidental backstory that would have just served the human story.
And we do see a little bit of that at the beginning, because Ren's introduction shot is him sort of like glaring at Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, the novelization gives us a little bit more insight. I have the novelization, I've not read it yet, but it definitely explains a little bit more about Ren Serizawa and his motivation. But that would be my major criticism, is how Ren was handled. I think that he deserved more, and I think that as it stands, he and Simmons could have been combined into one character, because neither one of them serves too much purpose on their own. They're kind of just the bad guys. So I feel like I'm okay with Ren Serizawa being a character in this movie. I think that he could have been. I don't discredit the fact that he's in the movie. I think that he could have been a lot more, though, and I think it's very apparent that a lot of his material was cut.
Yes. And does someone else want to go?
The movie originally, from what we know, was going to open on Hollow Earth on an expedition to into the Hollow Monarch expedition to the Hollow Earth, and that's where the Dr. Lin's girlfriend would have been killed. So they cut that out in the final movie, and they just make it exposition. So that's an instance of where some people are like, did we miss a movie in between? That's
something worth mentioning about that as well, is there is some evidence of what could potentially either be a oversight on the editing team when it came to sort of doing reshoots, or possibly a case of shoddy editing where they forgot to properly correct things. There is a scene in the film where it's mentioned that Monarch had something to do with the storm that ravaged Skull Island, that they meddled with it. They meddled with it in some way. And this ties in with the idea that apparently the original film would begin with them drilling into the Hollow Earth from Skull Island, which led to the failure of the first expedition, which then, there was a gravitational anomaly which brought the storm down, and that caused all the damage. But that was then retconned to Antarctica, and it seems as if they may have forgotten to either rewrite that or edit it completely. So, yeah, very unusual.
I kind of wish they kept that, because that's more for the Iwi story that I felt was very unfair. It was they wrote that whole
it's
island
a throwaway
off
line.
Yeah. Granted, some of this is, of course, addressed in the novelization, which I believe implies instead on its part that Ghidorah was the one who destabilized the storm system on Skull Island, but don't quote me on that. I haven't read the whole novelization yet, but there seems to be a line about that. And also Kingdom Kong, which I have not read yet because my copy doesn't come until tomorrow. I believe that there is a Skull Island Hollow Earth expedition that is part of the plot of Kingdom Kong. So again, we're missing a little bit of context right now, but definitely what Koopa said, I think that there was some rewriting that didn't get fully
cut out.
Cut out.
Someone didn't reread it before submitting their essay, basically.
Oh yes, and thank you to Koopa for bringing up shoddy editing, because on screen right here, what do we have from the beginning of the movie? They give 164,000 tons as the weight for Godzilla. Now, what's up with that?
Is that more or less than it was?
I don't think we know the exact number, but we do know that it's not correct.
I like that someone measured his gallons of blood.
The heaviest Godzilla ever was Godzilla Earth at 100,000 metric tons. And now, even if you do the conversion from US tons to metric tons, apparently from the intro to GVK, the 2021 Godzilla is by far and away the heaviest Godzilla, which he's the same height as he was in 2019. So this...
Where did you get all this extra weight?
Chonky.
Sarazawa's got that lizard juiced, remember?
I think, didn't I see, weren't people saying that they got this weight from like some fan?
It was a magazine.
A magazine?
I think, I don't remember the name of it, but I do know it was some magazine from 2014.
Oh.
For the 2014 movie.
Yes.
But anyways, the incorrect stats have no bearing on the quality of the film. So let's move on to other aspects of it.
Yeah.
I guess the only other thing which could be brought up with this unusual weight stat here is it kind of ties into a complaint I've seen some people make, which is that Godzilla seems to move almost a bit too fast. Whereas with Kong, it's understandable because he's bipedal, he's adapted to jumping around and sort of, basically being extremely fast moving through the environment. Godzilla seems to almost move too quickly. I'm not so sure I agree with that because, if you've actually seen sort of the creatures Godzilla's supposedly inspired by, the movements of him in the MonsterVerse, they can be pretty quick too, so,
If you want, you can say that in the 2014 movie, he was just he just woke up, so he was a little groggy, he was maybe a little slow, needed to get back into shape.
Yeah,
I love Godzilla going gator mode. I just love
that. Was brilliant.
So much.
That was brilliant.
When he's on all fours.
Yeah, that was sick.
That's, let's move into a more structured discussion. So, the thoughts on the movie. Let's start right there in
I guess
overlay.
I have something to say that I've been wanting to say.
Go ahead.
I feel like the characterizations and just the general broadness of the archetypes kind of unintentionally combined with the fast monster fights, it gives this sort of a Saturday morning cartoon feel because everyone just talks and acts like a cartoon character and they get to the next plot point very haphazardly, and the fight scenes are very slappy and fast. And it just gives me a Saturday morning cartoon feel.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I do think the best character of the whole movie is Gia, but I don't feel like we get to spend enough time with her.
She had the most emotional resonance, but a lot of it is just kind of brushed over so they could get to the next plot point.
Right. I agree with the Saturday morning cartoon thing, and I'll say on my part that I don't consider that a bad thing at all. Because my favorite Godzilla, one of my favorite Godzilla movies, not my absolute favorite, is Ever a Horror of the Deep. And if there's any Godzilla movie that I would compare to a Saturday morning cartoon, it would be that one. And I just think that some of my favorite Godzilla movies to rewatch are the ones that move at a quick pace. They don't get bogged down in anything, and they deliver entertaining monster fights. The kind of movies that keep you engaged, even if it comes at the expense of a deeper meaning or particularly focused narrative. So I think that Godzilla vs. Kong, I wouldn't put it up there. I wouldn't compare it to something like GMK or Shin Godzilla, but I'd still say in its own right, I think that it's one of the it deserves to be ranked among some of the better Godzilla movies if it's one of the ones that you like. But I guess it's kind of hard for me to give my thoughts on it. Like, I'm not saying it's one of the best Godzilla movies, but I think people that really like it, I can see why they would really like it and rank it as one of their favorites. Maybe
these are early after all, so they're not going to be super constructed. But I think, hang on, I had a thought, but I lost it.
I think like we'll all have like our idea of where this ranks in it when we're about 4 video essays deep on this movie.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a different breed of like silly antics to what Ebirah Horror of the Deep and Godzilla versus Gigan had, for example, or Godzilla versus Megalon. It's a different brand of that because I think the human aspect, the sort of cheesiness of that is unintentional. It was sort of constructed through editing based on something that tried to take itself more seriously with the characterization. And in that just, it doesn't, I don't like hold that in a high favor, if that makes any sense.
Are you talking about the cheesiness of Godzilla versus Kong? The
cheesiness of the human storyline in Godzilla versus Kong. I think the silliness of the monster fights was purely intentional because, you know, we get that close-up of Godzilla smiling and they're both generally very expressive when they sort of interact.
And likewise, when Mechagodzilla literally, there's a moment where it sounds almost like he's laughing as well. It's, you know, it's hyped up, and to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. That's the way it should be. Essentially,
there's a scene towards the end where, like, the little girl character Gia, she's doing sign language, and she says Godzilla, not enemy, and the fact that Kong responds to Godzilla's name as if that's a universally understood name that all the Titans understand is just very funny to me.
Well, I think that it's possible that they had discussed Godzilla before, and that Gia and Kong had discussed the sign for Godzilla before. I like to think that Kong, you know, with his grasp of language, understands that that's what they call that monster. But if that wasn't the intention, I definitely agree that it's very silly. But I think that was the intention.
This is the same movie where Kong shoves an axe down his throat, and the same one where Godzilla does a big, goofy, evil villain grin. So I wouldn't put it past them.
So, like, when I was going into this movie, I like looked at the director's previous work, and I'm like, oh, there's very good stuff here, and there's also very bad stuff here. So I could be like either. And it was kind of both. Like, it was kind of like the best stuff from his good movies, and some of like the from his bad movies.
Death Note.
How so?
Well, I suffered through part of his Death Note movie.
Oh, I suffered through the entirety of it.
I would say, like, I don't know, some of the lackluster human bits was like making me think of the parts I saw before I was like, I'm turning this off.
Oh, no. I completely vehemently disagree. Death Note was... It forced me to stop the movie halfway through, and no movie has ever made me do that, and I didn't even remotely feel that for Godzilla vs. Kong, so I disagree.
Oh, I mean, like, I was just saying just a little bit with the human scenes, with, like, human interaction, not like the overarching thing, but, like, just, like, little things that bothered me in writing, like, bothered me here.
I think in terms of characterization as a whole, I think definitely quite a bit more weight was placed on Team Kong, because you can see that it's definitely, of the two sides, Team Kong comes out on top in terms of characterization quality, in my opinion.
Oh yes,
It's
yes.
because the secondary team or Team Godzilla, they exist more as like a secondary perspective for the audience to see what's going on with Apex. Their actual story function is not existent until the last like 5 minutes.
Up until that point, they're basically they're almost like an audience surrogate, you could say, up until the final battle, because they're kind of just leading you into the organization and showing you more of it, as you were saying.
Yes.
Which that was what I'd say the strength of Team Godzilla is like what they lacked in narrative strength. I'd say they made up for it with. I thought the Apex plot was interesting. I think it could have been fleshed out a lot more, but I think that they gave us little pieces of the Apex plot and gradually uncovered more and more of it, and I thought that was entertaining and kept me wanting more. So I think that the Team Godzilla, they served a purpose and they moved the plot along, even though they're the lesser of the two groups of humans.
And Bernie kept us laughing the whole time.
No.
So
I did not laugh at Bernie, but I liked him.
I didn't realize until today that the actor playing Bernie is the same one who plays Miles' dad in Spider-Verse. Like, that was just pointed out to me today.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, a lot of people found Bernie annoying, including Golden, I think.
I'm sort of half and half because, like, I thought parts of what he's was saying was funny, but then I started thinking about it, I'm like, oh, this movie doesn't really punish the conspiracy theorist for thinking what he's thinking.
Well,
so
he's right.
Yeah.
It's a little...
There are things
He's
he
right.
says that are, like, openly wrong. There are parts from the novelization that I wish they kept in, like him saying that elves from the North Pole are real.
Oh,
and I
my
think that would have
God.
been fun to include.
I think the thing which is a bit strange is how all the conspiracy theories, which are eventually proven true, are being broadcast on an open channel. Like, literally, it's on an open platform with its own app. And yet, somehow, at no point does Apex or the US government, who are presumably being contracted in some way, neither one of those two entities go, maybe we should actually shut that down.
Oh,
Like,
they never identify
He's
him.
been working for Apex for 5 years, since the ending of King of the Monsters.
There
So
are,
didn't they do a background check on the guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they made him more comedic at some point in the cut, because there are parts where I noticed he would just throw out random conspiracy theories. Like, there was a point when they're escaping that he calls the people who run Apex lizard people, which is not a thing that's correct in the narrative.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, but
Definitely.
but Bernie, I think generally he was a well-received character, whereas in the previous movie, King of the Monsters, we had Stanton and the other guy.
Coleman.
And
Coleman.
Dr. Sam Coleman. And Stanton was pretty universally disliked. Coleman a little less so, but Bernie is pretty well-received. Anybody...
Yeah, I think part of that has to do... Nothing against the actors for Coleman and Stanton. Both of those actors have been in good things and have performed very well, but I really like Brian Tyree Henry. I feel like the character of Bernie wouldn't have worked as well if they cast someone else. I thought that he was fantastic and really brought a lot of character to Bernie and made him gave him a little something extra than just like what the character is on paper.
Yeah, I think part of what makes this movie work a little better for people than King of the Monsters, me included, I have not been silent about the fact that I didn't like King of the Monsters, but I think what makes this movie work for me a little better is that the human stuff is just as silly as the monster stuff. Like, there's a better marriage between the two.
Yeah, it's not tonal
definitely.
whiplash.
There's no, like, quippy Joss Whedon line undercutting a very epic moment. Like, during the Boston fight in King of the Monsters, there's this part where they clash and then it pulls back, and then Stanton makes a joke about the Red Sox or something.
Yeah.
It definitely feels a lot more natural in this case. Like, you can actually, like, it matches each other, and so it's not quite as jarring.
Yeah, and I compare that to past Godzilla movies. I think that generally the more serious Godzilla movies with more serious monster action, the humor is a little less pronounced. But whereas some of my favorite Godzilla movies are the ones where both the monster action and the human action are very goofy, and this movie feels like one of those to me. I'm not saying this movie is the same quality as something like Ebra or Gigan, but I get the same vibe from like the quippy, quirky human stuff complements the a little more expressive and crazy monster action.
Again, it ties into it feeling like a cartoon.
Yes. Which, again, I agree with. I agree with that sentiment.
Just because it's tangentially related, I saw some people in chat asking this. Because this is related to our talking about the human characters, what do we think makes a good human character for a kaiju movie?
Well, I think it's one that is connected to the monster action in some way, that they have personal stakes in it, but also one that I just think is, I don't know, it's when they're incorporated into the story in a way that doesn't annoy me.
Yeah. So like personally, like I was really excited for Ren as a character because I was thinking it was going to be like a Katagiri X character from Godzilla 2000, and Katagiri is one of my favorite human characters in Godzilla. Because he kind of fills that role of disliking Godzilla from a human perspective, outside of the general action. And I don't know, I just hit them wasting him is what bothered me the most.
I guess it's kind of hard for me to say what I think makes a good kaiju movie human character, because I think I like characters like the original Daisuke Serizawa, but I also love people like Glenn and Fuji or Yoshimura from Ebra, or the hippie from Godzilla vs. Gigan, or even Kuronuma from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, the alien leader. I think it has to do with a little bit with the actor who plays the character and their on-screen presence. Like if the actor has a lot of on-screen presence and really commands the scenes they're in, it makes me, gravitate towards them a little bit more, and it really entertains me when they're on screen. And so Ebra Horror of the Deep is a reason for that, because like Yoshimura, the main character, and Ayo, played by Kumi Mizuno, they're both excellent characters that steal the show when they're on screen. And then the other characters have a good back and forth. So I feel like that movie consistently has human characters that entertain me. And so I would rank them some of the best, even though they're not particularly serious at all. So I would say it definitely depends on the movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking just generally, like, because there's no single way to write a good human character. It might just be like have narrative purpose, but like also don't make them just like a tool to move from point A to point B.
Yeah, they can't just be a function.
Oh, someone in chat brought up Akane Yashiro. I definitely think that she's probably one of the best of all time. I completely forgot to mention her, but yeah, I would say Akane Yashiro. She has personal stakes in the Godzilla story. She's her actress, Yumiko Shaku. She's excellent and really makes you like Akane as a character. She's sympathetic, and she builds relationships with the other characters. And like I said, she has a personal stake in the monster action, and you want to follow her stories. So I would say Akane is probably like the best like marriage of the human and monster action in one character. So that's just my take.
I think the fact that, having characters pilot the mechs that are also fighting Godzilla just is a great action set piece to have them personally interact with the monsters, because otherwise they're just running around trying to escape it.
Which I think is kind of where this film dropped the ball in another respect, because, Ren is finally at the controls of Mechagodzilla, and yeah, they establish it as being in a trance. But it would be interesting to bring that human aspect in slightly, maybe before Ghidorah completely took over or something. That would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think that seeing some of Ren's anger and hatred coming out through Mechagodzilla would be cool. I point to Gamera 3 as one of the best ways to do this, is that you have Asagi and Gamera are connected, and there's a strong connection between the characters, even though their psychic link is severed by that point. And then Ayana and Iris, like Iris is the manifestation of all of Ayana's rage and hatred, and it makes for a very interesting monster battle because not only are the monsters fighting, but the human characters are trying to rein back Ayana's hatred to stop Iris. And so I think that there's a couple similarities between this movie and Gamera 3, ironically, just in terms of like the theme of Godzilla turning on humanity and people, but I would still say that they're not really comparable movies at all.
Oh no.
But I do think that there's some thematic connections there. And I think looking at Ayana and Iris, I would like to see something like that between Ren and Mechagodzilla. But,
I'm thinking, and I can't really think of a theme for the movie.
There's the only theme I can think of like any of the MonsterVerse is that I've noticed in every Godzilla movie he decapitates his opponent in some way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if that means anything.
Well, and it's more of like a glory kill in each movie.
I think the thing that's amusing at the end is how Kong obviously does the glory kill on Mechagodzilla, but he doesn't really need any sort of theatrics. He just holds it up, he roars, and he just throws it away. He doesn't bother sort of dramatically destroying it or anything. It's just get rid of it. It's just junk.
The theatrical part is him ripping it out.
Yeah. He doesn't need to go.
I would say that if this movie has like a theme to it, I would say it's the very basic mankind's arrogance is doomed to fail, and we thought we could replace Godzilla, but we can't. We're meddling with forces beyond our comprehension. We're playing God, and nature will always be there too. And again, I think that that's a very bare bones theme like that we've seen in other Godzilla movies, but I think it's there in this movie, and it's good enough for me because I'm not going into Godzilla versus Kong expecting something thematically resonant.
I think that's a good reference. That's a good reflection of the line Serizawa says in the first film.
Yes.
The arrogance of man is thinking that nature is within his control,
and not the other way around. Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
So
which is a very nihilistic message for this movie, but it works for the first movie.
Yeah, so this is a watered down version of the first MonsterVerse.
Well, watered down implies that it's like a similar plot, but
message. Not the
and I think someone in chat brought up another good thing about how Mechagodzilla is a false idol or whatever. That's another connection to Gamera 3, in that Iris is like I know I love making these comparisons, but Iris is like an antichrist figure to Gamera that's leading people astray, and we put our faith into Iris to replace Gamera, even though it means humanity's destruction. And so, like, I think that that's cool in both of these movies, how there's like a false god at one point. But again, Gamera 3 is a masterpiece that I will not tolerate any bad words about. Godzilla vs. Kong is not quite that.
It kind of gets lost in the tone it's trying to achieve. It's trying to be a big schlocky monster movie, but the whatever serious thematic stuff they had written was cut out or subdued.
Bubba Alter here makes a pretty good point in chat. Mechagodzilla is not part of the natural order. Yeah, that's another theme which kind of resurfaces here. It's glossed over quite a bit, but in favor of saying that, it's because Godzilla can sense King Ghidorah, and that's why he's attacking it. But yeah, the natural order does kind of play into this a bit here again. It's just quite drastically reduced in importance compared to G14.
Oh, sorry. We've been missing the super chats that people have been sending, so I'm gonna run through them.
We've been basing part of the discussion off of things they've suggested.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I don't think we've acknowledged some of them, so I'll just run through all of them. So thank you, Mateos Mouse, for the $2. Mechagodzilla had so much swagger. Weird design though. Slayer Sigma Zeta said, with the $5 said, how ridiculous was it when Godzilla literally burned a hole down to the hollow earth?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
It's on par with the tail slide.
Yeah.
It's
I
gonna.
thought that was one of the more ridiculous moments, but I loved it.
Oh,
definitely going to lead to interesting questions in universe.
it's this is literally the strongest Godzilla atomic breath ever, because Shin Godzilla could cut through buildings, but it wasn't this strong. And Godzilla Earth might be more powerful in terms of explosive power, but in terms of digging a hole thousands of meters deep through the ground and just hold it like that for however long it took.
And not be completely exhausted afterwards, and still be able to use your atomic breath. Like, that's pretty impressive.
I like that Godzilla's like solely driven by how angry he is.
I suppose the only Godzilla who probably comes close would be the Final Wars Godzilla, because of how he was able to shoot down Gorath, which, if you go by the stats on Gorath, it's pretty big and pretty dense. So I guess being able to blow up an asteroid on par with the weight of the moon versus drilling through the Earth, comes pretty close.
Oh yeah, so
Godzilla Earth
still beat it.
He charged that up for like years, and he could only do it once. So that wasn't his standard atomic breath. Like,
fair enough.
That was very special. So
wow, so 2021 Godzilla is just OP for whatever reason.
Whenever he sees a big monkey, he gets OP.
The extra 64,000 tons he gained between movies. Really,
all the atomic breath.
So
donkey.
The next super chat is from J. Aaron Pacas. Thank you for the USD 5. Do you think they'll bring back Mecha and this design was like a prototype? Maybe they'll adopt a Kiryu design on the future?
I mean, I could imagine maybe Monarch doing this, because presumably Monarch has now requisitioned all of Apex's assets. So potentially they could make a Mechagodzilla, but I doubt they'd be using King Ghidorah in any of the construction.
I definitely think that you could easily bring back Mechagodzilla if you wanted to, and I think that'd be cool. Like, I'd personally, if the MonsterVerse were to continue and it becomes just like this crazy world of titans running around, I'd love to see Mechagodzilla kind of get recast into a role like in the IDW comics, where the humans just have a Mechagodzilla that they sometimes deploy to try to turn the tide in these battles, and it often gets wrecked. I would like to see something like that.
What about the mass-produced Mechagodzillas?
Oh god, that would be sick too. I would love that.
Be a waste of resources.
The weird thing about you saying that, there's a part in the movie that every time me and Sheldon watch it, whenever Kong's eating the tuna, Sheldon just yells, "They're going extinct."
I'm sure the Titan radiation would make it better. Just let them destroy a city and let it reap by the logic of the 2019 movie.
Behemoth make fish.
Yeah.
Next super chat is thinking emoji. Thank you for that.
It's to remind us the thing.
Then, sorry we didn't get to your question before, Aaron. But then the next one is Tarptano with the 2. Been reading the novelization, and it does seem, and that's the end of the super chat.
Oh.
And then
I agree, the novelization does seem.
And the next one from the same guy was theme anti-humanism. Every single person who tried to stand up to, surpass, or emulate the gods winds up blowing up in their face. MG equals false idol.
Yeah, I read that super chat, and that's what prompted my comparison to Iris. I should have credited that super chat. That was a good point.
Okay, then we can get back to regular discussion. I wanted to bring up how Millie Bobby Brown's character was characterized or portrayed in this movie compared to the last one.
It's been 5 years, so I can understand why a character would go through such a radical recharacterization or development, but we don't see any of it, and she just seems like a jerk.
I like the idea in theory of a character becoming a conspiracy theorist from trauma. I wish we could have seen that happen.
Yeah, the novelization definitely it explicitly states that Madison has PTSD from her encounter with Ghidorah and is dealing with her trauma from that. And so I definitely think that they could have explored that a little more in the movie. But again, bare bones character. I'm sure people would have complained that, I don't want to know what Millie Bobby Brown's thinking or what she's going through if they would have done that. But I would have liked to have seen that.
It's unfortunate. People, general audiences, I suppose, seem to just brush off the characters and don't even want to invest any interest in them.
Well, like following a pandemic where there hasn't been any major movie releases, and I guess they just want like a really simple kind of dumb movie they don't have to think about. So that's why I think a lot of this was cut.
I think that's why I liked Scoob when it came out, because it was just a simple movie.
So do we have any more feelings about the movie?
I guess I can mention this here. Emon de Nexus says, billionaires will waste their stolen fortunes on pointless and dangerous endeavors, which only further human suffering, all the while believing themselves greater for it. That's the moral.
I wish they did more of it. I would have liked that if that was the moral. That's kind of the moral I see in the original King Kong versus Godzilla, because that like is a skewering of like consumerism and corporate stuff, because that's what Mr. Toho Co represents. I wish there was more of that in this movie, but you know, I saw a little bit of that.
If the main evil corporate guy had more nuance and wasn't just a straight up mustache twirling villain, I think that would be what they were going for. But
it would also have more than 15 lines.
I don't know.
So, Super Chat, Torb Tano said the novelization stuff that got cut is that Ren does get more fleshing out and made evident by drifting with Ghidorah. Ghidorah swallowed up his consciousness. I would really love to see Serizawa's son become a human Ghidorah in the next couple movies.
Rad.
That would be fun.
That would be rad.
I would enjoy that. That'd be good. Dumb.
No.
A good kind.
One idea I had that I loved for my dream scenario for Godzilla vs. Kong is that when working with the Ghidorah head, it like exerted mind control, like slight mind control on people that were working on it, and so like it influenced them to build Mechagodzilla, and as a result, so it could specifically unleash that. I liked that idea, but I would have loved to see.
So Astounding Beyond Belief is in chat, and he points out that the novelization also makes it clearer that she, as in Madison, is not buying into what Bernie's selling. She just thinks he's onto something with Apex. And he also just said that Ren views Godzilla as the older brother that Ishiro doted on instead of him, which makes sense. That's kind of what I had in mind.
Yeah, that's what I thought going into the movie as well.
Yeah, but
That they would make that more explicit.
yeah, they didn't make it explicit at all. There's no. It's only the one shot of Ren looking at Godzilla, and then it's just him neural linking with Ghidorah's skull until he dies. He gets electrocuted.
The fact that he's working for the enemy and making a fake Godzilla is something that Serizawa, his dad, would just be absolutely pissed about. So I think that's also a thing. But again, they don't really flesh it out. It's just what we have in the movie is all we have of that characterization.
We've got Super Chat.
Yeah, Super Chat from Zach Swasta. Where did Alan Jonah head go off to? why'd they just drop him in favor of the corporation so big it was never previously established? That's an excellent point. Apparently in the novelization, they have a part where he sells the head to Apex. So maybe something with that.
The real explanation is that Charles Dance wasn't signed on for this movie.
Mr. Legendary Stinson says, the wormhole scene was cool looking, but made the idea of monsters crawling in and out of the Hollow Earth more confusing.
Yeah, that was a thing I was wondering about, because in Skull Island they mentioned that the Iwi are from the Hollow Earth. So I'm like, how'd they do that?
Especially since it mentions that the way I think this has a thing, and it kind of plays into how I was mentioning earlier about that, how they might have messed up the opening. Gravitational anomalies. Maybe there aren't these anomalies everywhere, because it didn't seem like when Godzilla actually breached all the way down to the Hollow Earth that there was one. Kong just kind of climbed straight out, so maybe they're not everywhere.
I think it might just be that those wormholes are like a speed boost, like in Mario Kart.
Yeah, it seems like the Stargate in the
Kong
Earth
gets a little like parachute.
Deploy the
I don't know about you, but like the movie, you know what the wormhole scene reminded me of? It reminded me of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, the
part
ride.
where they're going through the ride. Yeah, that part. That I hope I was not the only one that was reminded of that.
I was thinking
now I'm
2001.
thinking of
That's also valid.
Ricardo Ignacio Eldefonso says the wormholes are just the heave. Maybe it could be something related to the heave.
Don't we see Kong go into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we see Kong go through it.
So it's like a
Hollow Earth, can we
visualized.
talk about Doug? I love Doug.
What?
The little lizard that eats the crab.
Oh.
His name's
Oh.
Doug, apparently.
Why are you calling him Doug? What the?
People have been calling him Doug
I call
online.
him-
That's the only name.
I call him MonsterVerse Manila because he looks like a little Manila.
I mean, I hope that's what he is.
That is a
He's
good
the
question.
MonsterVerse version of that lizard that was thrown in the original King Kong versus
It's
Godzilla.
giant lizard. Oh!
Giant Lizard 2.0. Yeah, I would love that.
Oh, another thing. What really created the throne and shrine of Kong? I thought it was the Kong species that carved that out, but I got some disagreement there.
I thought it said in the novelization the Kongs did it. I thought I read that online.
Oh, did it? People
there
in the chat and the Wikizilla chat, some people were saying, no, it was built by humans, but I don't know how humans built a 300-meter Kong statue and how
Saturday morning cartoon.
and how they carved out this 2,000, 5,000 meter walls. I don't, and doors.
Can we put up the video of the orangutan hammering the nail? Can we just do that?
Or the
I
chimpanzee.
love that video.
Yeah.
So I guess Kong's race was just a bunch of smarty pantses thousands of years
Yeah.
ago.
Do you think the Kongs also built the Godzilla temple he's in?
No,
in
no,
King
those
of the Monsters?
that actually had like human-sized steps and pyramids. The Kong one, it was gigantic steps and gigantic doors and gigantic thrones. There's nothing human scale in there.
That is a good point. You'd think that if humans built it, they would build something for themselves as well.
The implications are very funny.
Because in real life, when you look at like ancient monuments, even if the monuments were built with like the idea that, oh, this is where the god will come and sit, they still built stuff for the human worshippers to use as well. So, and that's absent here.
The funniest thing about the Kongs building the Kong temple is that there are Gothic arches.
Oh, okay. Darn it, I forgot.
Yeah, I've lost a couple thoughts too. It's okay.
Wait, no. Okay. Okay, so
Live footage. I've been building
the Great Godzilla and Kong species war.
Well, like the novelization seems to give the impression that it was mostly the Kongs versus Godzilla himself, more so than it was the Kongs versus Godzilla's species.
Was it
So
this Godzilla or was it the
It was this
Dagon from the comic?
Or
I think it was this Godzilla, but there clearly were more than one because we see a Titanoscogera skeleton in the Hollow Earth, or at least I presume that's what it is. That Kong pulls the
Godzilla's
axe
just a
out.
jerk.
yeah,
Godzilla's
there's
squaring
the
up the species.
skeleton. It might be assumed to be a Godzilla, but there's no confirmation either way.
The only other question I have about this is, so Kong Skull Island establishes that it was the skull crawlers that exterminated Kong's species. So this sets up two scenarios.
Oh no!
Well, I think that the skull crawlers killed them once they got onto the island.
Yes.
But whereas I think Godzilla probably drove them out of their home in the Hollow Earth.
Yes.
I think they leave a light implication there might be another Kong, because Kong doesn't seem to be like, that's wrong, when they say like your family might be down there. So I think we might get Kiko at some point in the future if it continues.
Lady Kong.
Lady Kong.
Lady Kong.
The axe. Let's talk about the axe.
That is just peak schlock.
I love it.
It's peak.
so
Let's
cool.
make an accessory for a figure.
It's very good. I really like the axe. I like that it like activates things when it gets put into it.
It's literally it's literally. I'm surprised they haven't actually made like a physical merchandise out of it. It's like the most obvious thing.
I like a scale one that makes noise that you can get a kid for their birthday.
It'd be so cool.
Purple Snow asked, did the skull crawlers get bigger in GVK? I thought the one that Mechagodzilla kills was about the same size as Ramarok, because I thought it was just Ramarok at first.
I don't know. I think it might be bigger because like the Skull Devil is like only 100 feet tall, and that thing looked like it was bigger than at least a third of Mechagodzilla. So I think that one was bigger, but I don't know for sure.
Maybe Apex's bioreactor when we were growing them in made him bigger or something. I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
I guess they just wait for them to grow the skull crawlers.
I didn't get finished talking about the axe. The axe, it was clearly built by Kongs, right? Some people were theorizing that it was built by Apex for Kong, or that I don't know, but it's clearly a giant femur with
it's like a bone.
a Godzilla dorsal plate attached.
Do we think that's Godzilla's, or do we think that's Dagon's?
I think it's a member of his species.
Not Godzilla himself.
Well, like, furthermore, the Godzilla Dominion gives us a little glimpse into the fact that Godzilla has fought Kong's species before. So, I guess it's not impossible that one of them could have taken a spike off of Godzilla himself, but I think it's more likely it came off of a member of his species.
I guess maybe a theory kind of tying back here to the whole idea that Godzilla himself may have fought the Kongs out of the Hollow Earth at some point. If we're going to assume that the temple was actually built by Kong's kind, perhaps it could be a case of Godzilla trying to restore balance, because it's like this whole race of giant creatures have clearly obtained sentience equal to that of humans. So he has to stop them before essentially there's humans 2.0 on the planet, I guess.
I think his motivation was more along the lines of like, this species can give rise to alpha titans that are like on par with Godzilla himself, and it's like a whole species instead of just one individual. So I think he was like, oh crap, I don't want to have the world overrun by titans that are the same, that are comparable to me. I need to keep them in check. I think that was more of his motivation.
Alligator Twitter versus monkey Twitter. Were any previous kaiju from King of the Monsters mentioned in the novelization? Mothra was only mentioned in one of the podcast episodes from what I remember. I think I heard in the
literally every
they mentioned like Rodan is hiding out in the mountain or something.
They mentioned literally everyone in the novelization. Like, they mentioned Behemoth, Methuselah, Scylla, Tiamat, Nakika. Like, all of them are mentioned in the novelization.
Well, I know there was one part from the novelization that I was very interested in, that they were mentioning about Godzilla attacking, and one of the background portions they gave was like, he hasn't attacked humans except for like once when they tried to capture a Titan and he rescued them.
Yeah, that's in Dominion.
It's interesting. But yeah, Mothra pregnancy theory.
What?
Yeah, that was like one of the titles of one of the podcast episodes, Mothra pregnancy theory.
It wasn't the subtitle under Mothra pregnancy theory, who's the daddy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's the baby daddy? So we want to discuss that, or shall we move on?
Let's move on.
What?
I mean, I think the biggest flaw with it here is like everyone's aware that Mothra lays eggs, and so we're saying pregnancy. So apparently, she now gives birth to live young. Apparently.
Well, we saw the egg in like the credits of King of the Monsters, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember seeing it.
Astounding says you know that Doherty wrote that part.
Yep, that was definitely one of his rewrites because he did rewrite to better connect it, which he did do a great job with. Because I don't think this is a great entry in the overall MonsterVerse in those terms, because it feels very standalone. Because it doesn't really like progress.
We've accidentally started shipping in chat.
Oh no.
Oh, this guy, Godzilla 2K26 asked, "Is it confirmed the other Titans are dead?"
Nah.
No, we're sleeping.
They're alive. They're just staying out of it. They're minding their business.
That seems to be like a common like misconception, because I was watching the Red Letter Media review of this, and one of the guys thinks, "Oh, did he kill all the Titans?" And I saw it a couple times on Twitter too.
Yeah, they're not dead. They're the only ones that died are like King Ghidorah and
The Mutos.
the Mutos and the Skull Devil and stuff like that.
And
Like,
Ghidorah survives through his hate.
yeah. I don't know about Cameos because I literally haven't read the Kingdom Kong, so he could survive for all we know. I don't know.
Godzilla sent them to a farm upstate.
That's where my dog is. Wait.
Yeah, Astounding Beyond Belief makes a point that like it's a lot of people believe the Titans are dead because of the brackets at the beginning that show everything is defeated, even though like some of them are dead and some of them are not. But yeah, like the other Titans are all alive. Like Godzilla Dominion clearly shows them all alive and well. So, yeah, it's just like Ghidorah and the others, the bad ones that were killed.
Darn it.
Yeah, the bracket right there.
I gotta be careful not to let this play, because then Warner Bros. Is gonna kill
YouTube's
everybody.
gonna kill you.
The Warner Brothers snipers show up.
Oh, notice, I guess you can't really see it on the screen here, but if you pay attention during this shot right here, it actually says Gojira and Kingu Kongu on those cards for Godzilla and Kong there. I thought that was a nice little touch.
I'll take your word for it, because you probably grab it enough to do it without the video playing. I don't see. Is it there? Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yep, just visible on the top.
So if we're done talking about the movie, I did write down a couple questions that I wanted to ask you guys, if you want to just answer them.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one is, do you want to see the MonsterVerse continue?
Yes.
So, with me, it's like I wouldn't mind more Kong movies. If Toho renegotiates their deal with Legendary, I want it to be that Toho can also produce films at the same time, because I kind of want to see what else they can do.
Yeah, I think a Kong Hollow Earth movie is like a no-brainer at this point. And but like as long as it doesn't stop Toho from making their own movies, I would love to see the MonsterVerse continue.
And we know the MonsterVerse is continuing because that Netflix prequel show, Skull Island, that will come out eventually.
Eventually.
It wasn't said to be a prequel. It hasn't been confirmed either way, has it?
No.
It's on Skull Island.
The Skull Island, astounding beyond belief, some days ago, was saying that he hoped that the Skull Island title was a switcheroo, and that it's actually going to be set in the Hollow Earth.
I think it said it was going to be set in the 70s. Let me check.
Oh.
But yeah, I as a Godzilla fan, I would be in the wrong to say I wouldn't like to see more Godzilla, but like this movie is the fact that this movie was successful kind of has dark implications going forward, because there was already a sentiment that human characters in kaiju films are bad. It already existed, but it's emboldened by this film by the fact that all the characterization was cut, that it ended up being as fun as it was.
Yikes.
So they might make more of those kind of movies, and if that's what they're going to do with Godzilla, then I don't know. I don't want that. I don't want that to be the public perception forever.
Like, we just came off of Shin. I say just when it's been 5 years. But like that had some of like the best human characters in like a long time. So like I kind of would feel very upset if we lose any chance of human characters.
Oh, I don't mind. I like what Golden said. I'm more worried about the perception being that these movies, the humans don't matter. But I would be fine if like the MonsterVerse movies are more campy and just like crazy, whereas
where
Toho gives us more serious movies with better human characters. Because like my expectations for Hollywood with Godzilla, I just want them to respect Godzilla and at least get the character right. So like if Hollywood's giving us dumber Godzilla movies, I'm fine with it as long as that's not the only output we're getting.
Yeah, definitely. Like
I'm of much the same opinion.
Yeah, like I'm fine with more, like, but I also kind of I don't want it just to be Godzilla movies. I kind of want a Mothra and a Rodan movie.
They should have done that in between 14 and Kong, but they missed that opportunity. So
I think we can still get like a Rebirth of Mothra movie. Just make more confusing things with the same title.
That's
just have a second.
Well, we've got a whole bunch of
happening at the same time.
That's something someone brought up where in between King of the Monsters and 2014 we could have had like a Mothra movie to introduce her, and then we can explain the advanced technology that we see in King of the Monsters that there's just happens in between movies. But
we have 2 super chats, one from Dragonus Prime. I would love to see a modern take of Godzilla x Varan, Baragon, and Anguirus, Justice for Varan. Yeah, that could be quite enjoyable.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
And Top 10K says, what's Japan's next Godzilla flick going to be about? # Team Titanalante.
That was actually related to my next question, if you want to go on to that.
Oh, well, first I want to... yeah, let's go on to...
Well, actually, hold on. Yeah,
we did miss one super chat earlier where it says, who would we give a mini series to?
A streaming series to?
Yeah.
I wouldn't really. I'm not really thinking of anyone, but if they can make something interesting out of a mini series, then that'd be neat.
A streaming series. Gamera.
Gamera.
Give Del Toro a 5 episode series, and he just gets to pick whatever he wants.
Make a tokusatsu, please. I beg of you. But yeah, my next question was, if there is another movie, who do you want to see in it? Like, actually, the question was, who do you want to see in the next Godzilla film, MonsterVerse or Toho?
Anguirus.
Definitely Anguirus, I think. But I think it would be fun to see a traditional 2-on-2 sort of scenario. So Godzilla and maybe Anguirus versus 2 other monsters. Could be original, could be returning. It'd be, that'd be something quite fun to see.
I think it'd be neat to have like a space monster for once that was explicitly from outer space and it didn't really have like a backstory with Godzilla. It just shows up.
I think they're setting that up actually. I think because they mentioned the Monarch base in Roswell.
Oh.
I think we're gonna get a mummified Gigan, if anything.
I'd love Gigan.
Well, that's something else. It was kind of like an unwritten assumption that people are saying that Godzilla vs. Kong is the last movie in the MonsterVerse, but we got the legendary CEO, and to be fair, it seemed that way after it seemed like that could have been the case after Godzilla King of the Monsters underperformed, but the legendary CEO came out recently and said that we've got some more ideas for future MonsterVerse films. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, and both Legendary and the official Godzilla Twitter tweeted about how good the box office was. So, I think we're gonna get more of it.
Like for the Rotten Tomatoes, they can actually say, everyone likes this instead of just the fans like this, like they did for King of the Monsters. But that's more of like a reception thing.
Yes, that was
because it's making money and people like it.
Yeah. So I saw this with my little brother who's about 10 years old, and he said this was his favorite movie he's ever seen. So I like to think that like kids that are first getting into Godzilla and Kong, seeing this movie, I'd like to think that they enjoy it and that a movie like this could definitely build the brand.
Like I think that's the Saturday morning cartoon thing that Golden was talking about. I think that's the same way a lot of the bigger budget multiverse films or like movie universe films kind of do it, is that age demographic is what they mainly need to appeal to. So I think we are going to get more, unfortunately, exactly in this style, because I would like more human characters. But, as long as Toho gets to do stuff.
As long
as like singular points still exists concurrently, because that's pretty tight. But they've released so far.
Oh yeah, definitely. Singular Point looks pretty great. Looking forward to it releasing in over here.
There's sadness in your voice. I can hear it.
I keep losing my train of thought. Well, the other thing is there was a super chat from Purple Snow. Thank you for the 2 USD. Crossover between MonsterVerse and Pacific Rim. I think the Pacific Rim Uprising director actually said somewhere that there was an idea, or not exactly a plan, but an idea to cross over the Pacific Rim and MonsterVerse universes after.
He said that was his pitch, yeah.
After Pacific Rim Uprising, but after that movie, they dropped that.
Crap. I think Pacific Rim needs to focus on getting back on its feet, which it seems to be doing with the new Netflix series. That's pretty good, but I think it needs to get back on its feet before it can consider doing a MonsterVerse crossover.
And personally, I don't really want to see them cross over, at least not like that. Like I would be all for like a rebooted version of Godzilla appearing in the MonsterVerse, like just a different version of Godzilla, but I don't think, unless they do some crazy multiverse stuff, which I would be open to. I don't think that. Yeah, I've always wanted to see a Godzilla multiverse, so I guess if they go that route, maybe I could dig it. But other than that, I don't think as they stand, or at least not right now, the two universes shouldn't cross over.
At the very least, bring back Del Toro, which they won't.
Yeah. I mean, this could be his opportunity to finally work on a Godzilla project, though. Can you imagine? That would be Del Toro involved with Godzilla. That would be a
very
dream
fun.
Come true.
So there was going back to the discussion about the uncertainty of the future of the MonsterVerse, like, and how it seemed like Godzilla vs. Kong was going to be the last one. Another reason for that was that with the movie being delayed like time and time again and shifted around, and especially after they moved it back following the poor reception to King of the Monsters, it seemed like Godzilla vs. Kong was just, it didn't have its place. There was all these other movies coming around it, but then the pandemic happened, and a year after,
which might have been the best thing for this movie.
Yes, right now, a year after into the pandemic, we have it's the best performing post, not exactly post-pandemic film, with a 9.6 million opening day, and it's doing
for people to see this movie,
and it's doing great in China. So it's raising a lot of attention there, and so that's adding to the success factor of why the MonsterVerse might not end with this one.
We did get a super chat from Top 10K. Thank you for the $4. What if Team Wikizilla was offered a cameo in GVK? I don't know what we would do, but I do want to mention that James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, was offered a cameo, and he had to turn it down.
Yeah, because his daughter was being born at the time. The
Yes.
second one, I think. Which is very nice of him. I'm glad that he prioritizes that.
Chad.
I would love to have a cameo in a Godzilla movie. That would be my dream come true, but
Yeah,
I want to get stepped on.
Oh my god.
Let's read Astounding Beyond Belief's ideal Wikizilla cameo. We're background monarch agents, but if you turn on the subtitles, you can hear us arguing about MonsterVerse continuity. I agree. So we've talked about a lot of about the movie, but there's still a lot of stuff that we haven't talked about that's in the movie, like Mechagodzilla's design.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
He's a big old lanky boy.
I honestly quite like this design. It's very utilitarian. It's not sort of overly flashy or overly aesthetic like earlier designs. Here you can really tell that it's built for brute force and speed at the same time. It's really quite impressive. Definitely one of the high points of the art style.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was gonna think about the grabby hands, but they work very well in motion and like in the fight scenes.
Yeah, like you're saying, when the design was first leaked, I didn't know what to think of it because it was like a blurry photo, and all I could see were the grabby hands, and it was like, I don't know how to feel about that. But then when I saw it in motion, it was like, oh, that's neat. They spin, and it's just a big old bulky slim thing.
Yeah, the toy leaks from way back in two years ago.
It's like January of 29. No, it was 2020.
No, it was not 2020.
No, it was 2020. Remember,
2019, it was the Toy Fair, like immediately following the.
I remember it was January though. It was like early on.
Your perception of time is destroyed.
I guess so. COVID does that.
I think it was in 2019 because they delayed the Toy Fair a long time in 2020.
We can check the date of when I downloaded the photos.
Well, I was gonna say that I was in the same boat as Golden. I saw the design and was like, what the heck is this, like, plastic 3-year-old toy?
It was January 7th, 2020.
Oh.
Okay, wow, that was more recent than I thought.
So I didn't like the design at first.
Yeah, I didn't.
But in the movie, it looks splendid and moves wonderfully. And he is a complete badass. I mean, he was about to kill Godzilla with the kiss of death. Everyone caught that. Yeah, until Kong came to the rescue.
He's one of the rare moments of actually calling back to the other movies.
I love like how much Godzilla just gets his shop wrecked in this movie.
Yep, it's like most of the other incarnations, with the exception of Heisei, kind of show Godzilla holding his own, maybe getting a bit annoyed until the Mechagodzilla brings out their proper weapons. But here, it's clear just how much Godzilla is outmatched here, and it's quite spectacular to watch.
So you're saying you love seeing him getting beat up?
Well, not necessarily. It's like it's quite impressive seeing that moment where it's like, yeah, I am in control. Look, because bear in mind, this comes right after he triumphs over Kong. So it's like he's obviously on top of the world, and then all of a sudden Mechagodzilla comes out, and he is completely wiped the floor, essentially.
I love this. Love this super chat by Zach Swasta. I'll take this Mechagodzilla over the Heisei version. At least this one knows how to throw a punch.
I don't know. I like Heisei Mechagodzilla's like little Peebo head.
I kind of like how emotionless the Heisei design is. It's like literally he doesn't know how to react to anything. He just keeps going regardless.
Rubber duck.
It's the anxiety expression. It's like
Yeah. I think the other thing which is really cool is it's the idea that this is kind of a cross of not only Mechagodzilla but Mecha King Ghidorah with the whole interface with the skull, but also you kind of have this idea that Ghidorah's almost learned lessons from his last battle. Instead of kind of going in trying to be intimidating and sort of, imposing, here he simply wants to kill. It's like, let's get down to business.
Yes.
I'm not messing around anymore.
In King of the Monsters, Ghidorah was just messing around with Godzilla. He threw him around. He was sucking his energy, and then Godzilla turned it around and killed him. And now he resurrected back from the dead. Now it's Mechagodzilla. He beat Godzilla's ass to a pulp, and then would try to finish him off. But then Kong, he took a little too long.
Them teaming up them like Kong and Godzilla like holding on to both arms. It's such like a good shot of just like them dragging him through buildings and stuff. I love that part so much.
I love that.
I had a big dumb smile during the entire fight. That was so much fun.
It was so cool.
And like seeing Kong fight Mechagodzilla at the end, that's the sort of like crossover aspect that I really like, where it's just him fighting a monster he's never fought before. Like an established monster. That's fun.
Yeah.
It was one of the likewise, it was another one of the best aspects about it. It's like, it could have been a bit easy to kind of have Kong be in the supporting role and have Godzilla kind of lead the way, but here he's at the front of the fight for the up until Godzilla gets back up. It's really quite cool seeing this matchup that you wouldn't see otherwise.
So Cybergator, Cyborg Raptor, sorry about that. Thank you for the $5. And what do you guys think? What do you guys think of Godzilla reacted to the axe being charged? What made him instinctively need to burn it through the air? Oh, I think it was like the same thing that attracted him to Ghidorah, like that weird wave thing. It just set out for the same thing.
Oh, that's another thing. Why was Godzilla evil in this movie?
I think he was just angry.
They needed to make him an antagonist, and that resulted in his characterization being really inconsistent with his previous two movies.
It's kind of like, I'm thinking of other crossover movies of this ilk where it's like a clear versus where you have to have someone hold the dummy stick, and I think Godzilla had the dummy stick firmly shoved in his mouth.
Oh yes, they did the tree. They referenced the tree thing. Yeah, everyone wanted them to do that.
That was like the second big cheer moment. The first big cheer moment, well, it's less of a cheer and more of a like uncontrollable laughter, was when Kong started doing sign language.
What the?
I thought it was a neat idea. I like it. It's silly, but I like it.
That was what cemented it to me as like a cartoon.
No.
I thought it was funny.
No.
I like big.
No.
I think my other point about the final battle is, obviously from both parts of the final battle, it is one of the most visually spectacular moments in the film. Literally the neon lighting, and then later, obviously, as the sun's starting to rise, it is very well lit, it's very well set, and you really do get to see all of the models of the monsters fight in all their glory.
Daytime fights.
My favorite bit from James Rolfe's review is like, I can't believe it! They fought the day!
I can see.
Absolutely.
I still think Skull Island is my favorite one out of the MonsterVerse, but I think this is pretty up there.
Yeah. I think this is good in a different way than
It's fun.
Skull Island.
Very,
Skull Island, I think is a very strong movie on a lot of levels, including its human characters. But this movie is just like it delivers on what like every criticism I could level at Godzilla versus Kong. Like there's a very legitimate reason why it's like that. So it's just like I get what they're doing with this movie. Like it might not be my cup of tea, but like I get exactly why everything was the way it was in this movie, and I think it works to its benefit.
So, Cringe Baby 2.
Welcome back to the stream, Cringe
Welcome
Baby.
back. Welcome back.
I love you, Cringe Baby 2. That isn't when Mechagodzilla gets taken over by Ghidorah, a reference to the 1993 Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla manga. I don't think it is, but that's a really interesting connection. That is the exact same thing that happened.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
Yeah, it is literally the same thing that happens, unless that would be a really deep cut if someone was aware of that. But I do think it's a coincidence, unless they say otherwise.
Another username, $5, who donated $5. Thank you. Said, to be honest, to me, the new Mechagodzilla design feels a little too much like a Michael Bay Transformer. I kind of get what you're saying. There are parts of it that are a little busy, but I think there's enough smooth bits on the outside that it's streamlined enough that I'm not like tired looking at it.
Yeah, it's a big silhouette that is rigid enough that you can tell it's like humanoid when it moves. So, which is more than I can say for the Michael Bay Transformers movies, where they're just zipping all over the place and they're on the ground level and their legs are moving everywhere and the sound design isn't quite right, so you can't really tell. But yeah, I can see the Michael Bay connection with that.
Yeah, I read in an article that the Michael Bay Transformers were a direct inspiration for this Mechagodzilla's design.
That explains the face, because he looks like Megatron.
I
I
think
like
the
his little penis eyes. I just noticed like how teeny and beady his eyes are.
That was the first thing I noticed when they released like the Pop figure.
Pop!
The beady red eyes.
I think the thing I quite like about the legendary Mechagodzilla's design is how it kind of almost draws in a bit of the design philosophy of each of the three Japanese live-action generations that came before it. You've got sort of the brute force of the Showa design. You have the idea that pieces fold out, like the rocket launchers and the rocket boosters, like the Heisei design, and you have the agility of Kiryu. It's a really quite an interesting mix.
He's got the Showa Mechagodzilla's eyes are red, but he's an evil Mechagodzilla.
Angie man.
Evil.
Kiryu, the Dragon Warrior, said, "Thank you for the $5." Says, "Is it just me, or is the cut from Godzilla vs. Kong fighting at night to when Mechagodzilla comes out during the day a large chunk of time that was missing?"
Yeah.
That was something I was thinking about when I was rewatching it.
Do you think
Maybe they
Godzilla
thought
was just standing
already.
around waiting for something to happen?
The Mechagodzilla wasn't resolved. He was there for Mechagodzilla, wasn't he?
Release
I
the
think
cut where
so, yeah.
Kong tries to stand up for 45 minutes and keeps falling down.
Yeah, he constantly can't get up because his shoulder's dislocated and he can't get close enough to that thing to reset it.
That's the part that's in my burned into my head of him resetting his shoulder. It's such a human moment and it's weird, but I really like it.
While we're still on Mechagodzilla, the guy who designed the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla is the same one who did this one.
Yes, Jared Krzyzewski.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
I wonder if Toho had any stipulations with this Mechagodzilla's design or not.
4 fingers.
Because I like how unique.
He has to be.
I like how you.
Stipulation.
Time Brain says, "I love Mechagodzilla, but I noticed that." Oh, by the way, thanks for the $5. Sorry. I noticed that Ghidorah's head/brain wasn't destroyed. Think there's any chance he'll come back in some form? There's always the chance, I guess.
He's a ghost.
Yeah, he's a ghost.
We get a reverse Mecha King Ghidorah where the only flesh part is the head.
Oh well, the flesh has been stripped from this skull, and it's just
Put it back.
it's the nerves in the bone. It's all that's left.
A
Genetic
little bit of tape,
modification, maybe.
just like put it back on. Like,
What?
Wikizilla, is this the most deadliest, dangerous, and most powerful version of any Mechagojis? Was one of the questions I see.
no, the Trendmasters one with like the 10 guns.
I mean,
I still.
why wouldn't this be the most powerful Mechagodzilla? Because I mean, he overpowered Godzilla in the beam lock, and this Godzilla had the beam that could shoot through 10,000 miles of dirt.
I think the only thing that makes Kiryu weaker is that Kiryu just likes to take a nap sometimes.
Oh yeah, he's like the
Yeah, he has batteries.
he's like
He's
the
a little-
Evangelion units.
Yeah.
I think in terms of spectacle, Showa ever so slightly pips the legendary design to the post in terms of like sheer spectacle, but in terms of power, yeah, MonsterVerse takes that title absolutely.
Astounding pointed out that the Mechagodzilla city could have taken over the planet.
That's true.
That is very true.
Yeah, I would
Like
say
it-
that Mechagodzilla City being literally the gray goo makes it the most dangerous of all the Mechagodzillas, but you know, in terms of like raw combat potential, I would say MonsterVerse is pretty strong.
Symbiote Mechagodzilla.
How tall was he? Was he like 160 meters tall?
He was only
He towered
bigger
over
than
Godzilla.
He's definitely got a bigger height difference than the Heisei design, which used to hold the greatest difference in height.
How far we've come in terms of heights.
Whoa!
Kiryu the Dragon Warrior, thank you for the $20. On a scale of 1 out of 10, how do you feel about this version? Kiryu Mechagodzilla is my all-time favorite, as you can tell. So, when I heard the Mechagodzilla was coming, I was excited. So when I say this, I give it a 9 out of 10. So, yeah, let's rate our Mechagodzillas, I guess.
Who wants to start?
Oh wow, we're getting a whole bunch of super chats here. Akno Goji says, "Wouldn't it be cool if?" Oh wait, that one's. Hang on, it's jumped up. Don't you think it's possible that Ren Serizawa survived?
That's very easy to retcon, and I think he's just going to be like a human Ghidorah if they bring him back.
They leave it vague enough.
I think he is set to die in the novelization.
Novelizations don't matter.
And wouldn't it be cool if Toho or someone else remade some classic Godzilla movies from the ground up? Of course.
That'd be neat.
No. Never mind. No, we don't need.
I don't know. There's like a sum that I'm like, if like some art director wants to do a shot-for-shot remake, I'm down with it.
No.
They're all perfect the way they are. Even all monsters attack.
I want a Sweden version of Final Wars with guys in Party City costumes.
Yes.
That's what I want.
They came close to remaking verbatim the original Godzilla movie in the 70s during the lull between Terror of Mechagodzilla and
54 I think is perfect and doesn't need to be remade.
Yeah, I can see why that was canceled. You don't need to remake that.
Okay, let me go through my versions of Mechagodzilla. Showa, probably 7 out of 10. Heisei, 6 out of 10. Cyber Godzilla from the animated series, 11 out of 10. Kiryu, 9 out of 10. And then the new Mechagodzilla, also 9 out of 10.
Okay, I guess I'll go through mine. Showa is 8. Heisei is like, I don't know, 4 or 5. I don't really care for it. Kiryu is like a good 7.5, maybe an 8 as well. And Anime Mechagodzilla is like a 6 because he's got a cool like standalone design, but the Mechagodzilla city thing it's neat, but I don't like the look of it. And MonsterVerse is like, I don't know, a 7.
Oh, I didn't even think to rate the anime one. I was just rating the the one from the Godzilla the series with Zilla Jr.
We all have our unique one that no other one will mention.
Well, I think it makes more sense to rank the Mechagodzillas rather than assign them numerical values. So, I think I don't like them. At the bottom would be the Heisei Mechagodzilla. He's the least interesting design to me. Then Kiryu, then the Showa version. and Mechagodzilla from MonsterVerse. I think he looks really, really quite attractive.
Oh.
Oh.
So just to make my list less confusing, I guess it's Heshe's bottom for me, then Showa, then Kiryu and MonsterVerse are tied, and then Cyber Godzilla is top.
Yeah, I guess mine ranked as bottom Heisei, then I don't want to put Kiryu that low. No, I don't want to rank them.
You're thinking a number.
I hate numbers and I hate ranking.
They're all good, except
They're all
for
good.
except for the
Heisei.
yes.
But Cyber Godzilla is the best one.
Koopa.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of the same thing. Everyone has their own merits. I'm going to say that I would put Mechagodzilla City is probably be on the lowest, sort of joint lowest, maybe with Heisei. Both are very cool for their own reasons, but they're not exactly very strong, or they're not shown to be very strong. Then it would be Ready Player One, mostly because, gets taken down fairly easily, but still very cool to see. Then we have Showa, Kiryu, and then Kiryu and MonsterVerse at the top. So yeah. Oh, here we go. We got another super chat here.
Do you feel we were robbed of a Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla movie?
We got the rematch between the big monkey and the big lizard. We already have like 3 other Mechagodzilla movies.
That's right.
We also got like big monkey versus big robot lizard for the first time. So I think that's a nice trade-off than getting big lizard versus big metal lizard again.
It's legitimately a great inclusion.
Absolutely.
I do want Mechanicon back. That's a big thing
Oh
for
god,
me.
yes.
They're right in
Mechanicon.
the same place for the first time in like 30 years. They need to do it.
Yes, Mechanicon is one of my favorites. I'd love to see him come back.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions left. Are there any other super chats we want to go?
Some people are asking about the war bats and what we thought of them.
They existed. I liked their look, but they don't have a lot of screen time.
I think that's the only other real thing here that I could complain about. It's the Hollow Earth sequence is oddly a bit too short, in my opinion. Like, it feels like a lot was cut from it that could have been expanded upon. Hopefully it'll be expanded in the supplementary material, though.
Yeah, like I love the war bats, I love the hellhawks, I love the crabs, I love Doug. I really love Doug. But yeah, there's not too much of them.
Yeah,
Look of it. I think it presents
Yeah.
itself for a bunch of spin-off material. Wikizilla, do you think Kong is a zombie?
No.
No.
There's a fan film called Godzilla Battle Royale with a zombie Kong. So
When are we gonna do a live reaction to that? I haven't seen it.
yeah, wait till you see their version of Ghidorah.
Oh,
Kiryu the Dragon Warrior, thank you for the $2. Only issue, wish more time was in Hollow Earth. I agree with that. Not my only issue, but yeah. Akno Goji, thank you for the $2. Do you wish the Skullcrawler fighted Godzilla? I said fighted. Godzilla versus Kong. I like the Skullcrawler a lot. I would like to see maybe a supersized one at some point, but I don't think it's after Skull Island they're gonna get too much like time in the spotlight anymore.
they're probably gonna introduce more monsters, and those are gonna be the highlights of the film. Because like you can't spend too much time on the old.
Top 10 10K, thank you for the $2. Toho is going to try to one-up this Mechagodzilla design. I mean, that's what they did with Shin when 2014 came out.
No,
So
they one up this design in complexity with the anime design. The anime design is extremely busy.
Yeah.
It's all bulky. It's got a lot of muscles.
just jacked Mechagodzilla. Give me a Mechagodzilla with a 6-pack.
Yeah, I wonder what Toho's response to this movie is going to be when that eventually comes out in Japan, because it's not coming out in Japan until like May 16th or something.
Oh,
We know Toho likes the money because the official Godzilla Twitter tweeted very happily.
no, oh, never mind what Toho's response is gonna be. What's the Japanese response to the movie gonna be?
Well, they're
Well,
already spoiled to hell and back if they've been on Twitter.
The question is, will we see a mirror of what happened in 2014 with Godzilla's too large,
No.
with Mechagodzilla's too muscular, too swole?
That's a mountain out of a molehill. It was like one person said, "America Godzilla wa futoi desu," and then Western media, state ran with Japan thinks Godzilla's too fat. That was.
This time the response is going to be Kong's too attractive.
Oh yes, they do show his butt in the beginning of the movie.
Has anyone else seen the edit of the opening scene where they replaced the song with All Star? It's so
Same
good.
It's Terry Rossio also wrote Shrek. The comparison is valid.
Two films that need to be preserved for film history. Shrek and Godzilla vs. Kong, but they need to only be watched in one sitting.
Absolutely.
Like an edit of the film of both of them that makes them one.
Well,
God.
One thing we haven't talked about is, I mean, we've touched on it, but the specific fights. How were the specific fights? Round 1, 2, and 3. How'd you like them?
I thought that it was a fun set piece, the first one, and the rest it's very slappy and unsophisticated, but it's fun. I don't think I prefer these fights overall to like the just rush of excitement and visual storytelling of the 2014 movie, but I do think it comes close just from the
My favorite part about that one is when just the plane takes off and leaves, just like, nope.
But also, I quite like the part where Kong just picks up the Lightning 2 and just chucks it at Godzilla. It's something that like it was added purely for spectacle, but it fights better for it. It really is.
Ultra Apex Hybrid says, what else do y'all want to see in the Hollow Earth? I think everyone said Anguirus before.
I think Megalon is a valid possibility.
Megalon would be so good, especially if they bring in Gigan as the next big bad. Like, that would be so good.
So what did we all think of the grin?
I love the grin.
That
I
was-
liked it.
I love the grin.
No, that was really weird. Like, what the hell is... Why is he doing this Joker society smile? Like, what?
Reminded me of that edited Germa face.
I crush a society.
When the Titan is sus.
Bruh.
It didn't because it was his first time hitting Kong with the atomic breath, but it's so goofy. I love it.
So, Kiryu the Dragon Warrior said, are you happy with the winner, Godzilla? I think if we were going to do the round structure of Godzilla going to round 1, Kong getting round 2, and Godzilla winning round 3.
Yeah.
I think Godzilla technically won, but he still needed Kong's help to beat Mechagodzilla.
Well, I mean, no-
so I think it's like supposed to be still like a little bit like a tie.
No. Godzilla won. It's just that in the next match, Mechagodzilla was beating his ass, so he needed Kong to help out.
He needed Kong to run in with the chair.
Yeah. I like the first battle. Okay, so the first battle in the ocean was really it was tense. Like Godzilla being in his element, but Kong being like trapped, chained up, and then needed to free him up. It was good, and
It's a great set piece.
Yes.
I think my favorite part of visual storytelling from the fight, though, was when Kong's on top of the building and he throws the crane to hit another building and it distracts Godzilla. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun visual storytelling in this.
Yeah, I think they put most effort into like the character between the monsters, and like I love that, and I would love to see more, especially if Kong's going to be our lead for the MonsterVerse, more like expressiveness, and like, because that's perfect in here. I don't want it to be at the expense of human characters.
Yeah. Let's not forget that they also exist. They existed in this movie.
Yes. Oh, Kyle Chandler was criminally underused.
Well, he didn't really have much to do.
He showed up in
talks
Hong
like-
Kong.
He talks like a 50s dad. I wrote this down. He says, "Why don't you cut your pop some slack, eh, sweetheart?" And he says it in that inflection, too.
As Duke says, do you think this movie's Mechagodzilla could beat any of the other Mechagodzillas?
Yes.
Yes.
Probably.
I mean, assuming if they're all scaled down, then I don't know, maybe Kuryu has a chance.
Let's put them in a cage
I don't know.
together and see what happens.
I think the thing that'd be funny would be like the whole gimmick with, like, is Mechagodzilla from the anime trilogy going to be Mechagodzilla or Mechagodzilla City? Because I think that'd have a big impact on it.
I once again forgot about the anime trilogy Godzilla, but yes, yeah, he has the highest chance of winning. I don't really care for power scaling.
Yeah.
No, neither do I.
The only point to make here, though, is in theory, like the Ghidorah skull would have to be outside the cage, and assuming that, like, for the sake of just keeping everything not dead, the nanometal can't go beyond the boundaries of that cage. Mechagodzilla City could not stop the MonsterVerse design. Not with those puny cannons on the buildings, it wouldn't be able to do a thing.
Yeah, he just runs that MonsterVerse Mechagodzilla. He just barrels through buildings.
And you can't nanometal what's already metal, so, you know.
I mean, maybe you could.
For the $2, you said society. Damn right.
Low.
Gamera lives in a society.
We are destroying a society.
How Godzilla was handed round one. That was weird. Like turning off the machinery of the ship. And
Now, I remember hearing something about the original draft, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's because that evil lady that was with them, the daughter of the CEO, she was apparently like
Yes.
controlling them.
the Orca Z.
The Orca Z.
They've cut so much from this movie. Like, that was a complete non-character to me, that person.
She just says things in a really snarky way, and then she
Nice.
does a
And then
heel
she-
turn again.
Yeah, and then she does, like, random things where you're like, oh, she's not so bad. Like, when she tends to Gia for, like, a second, like,
What?
before it cuts away.
Blink
and
and
I'm
you
like,
miss it.
Are you
That's,
missing?
like, right after they get them out of the flooding room. She gets on her knees to, like, help Gia.
Okay, now was that the Kong Whisperer lady or the other girl?
It was the other girl. It was because the Kong Whisperer lady goes to Nathan to figure out what's happening, but Gia's like on the floor, and the billionaire daughter like runs in from the other side of the screen and gets on her knees to help Gia.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
I guess I
it's-
was so focused.
Blink and you'll miss it. When she died, the group I was watching with cheered. Like we were like, "Yeah, woohoo!" When Kong crushed her heave. In
That is understandable. That is completely understandable.
My favorite thing my roommate said was when they pointed the guns at Gia and Kong roared, and they're like, he's like, y'all are dumb. They got a big monkey here.
Cringe
Get 'em out
Baby
of the
2
way.
says, if you could change the city of the final battle in Godzilla vs. Kong, where would you change it to? I would change
New
it
York.
to Wigan or Jaywick. Wigan and Jaywick are both cities in the UK, for those who aren't aware.
New York.
Pla-
Yeah.
places
Wigan and
that don't have
Jaywick.
Political implications would be
Oh.
my answer.
I want it where there's snow, because I loved Kong in the snow. I want more snow.
Someone was saying that was a reference to Rampage. Like what?
Chicago.
White snow, because George had white hair. Someone tried to
Yes.
add. Someone tried to add it on Wikizilla, and we were like, "What the heck?"
Cringe
Snow
Baby 2
exists.
says,
That's a
Jaywick
reference.
hellhole.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
because
it's-
Kong was covered in snow and that kind of made his fur look white.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could say that's a reference to Kiko too. I don't think that's
A bit of a
exclusively
stretch.
anything.
A bit.
What would we personally add as a post-credit scene? Ren being alive. That's about it.
Yeah, well, he wasn't really a strong character in this cut of the movie, so I don't know how that would have worked as like a stinger.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
it's
mean,
like-
I just wouldn't add any monsters because it's already like I think monster count is good as the way it is.
Because the movie does kind of end abruptly the way it does. Because we go from the Hong Kong setting where Godzilla leaves, and that would have been where the credits started, and then it cuts to Kong into Hollow Earth, and then it ends with him roaring, and the movie's bookend with another pop song, but that's the only thing that I really felt was a satisfying part of that ending. I don't know.
So in round two, I was kind of rooting for Kong. I mean, it's good that he got round two and he knocked Godzilla out for 5 seconds with the axe. He was really a good fighter, and that was a really good fight.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This movie has endeared me to Kong more than any of the other movies have. I think Kong Escapes was the most to me before this, but just because of how much time they give him as not like a thing of tragedy, but like a character. I just loved him so much in this movie.
They make an effort to like show his reactions at the beginning of certain scenes, like when he's dropped off in the Antarctica setting and he's like, "Oh, it's kind of cold. I've never seen snow before." That's what I got out of that. And then there's that part when it cuts to him on the boat and he's eating fish and he just grins. That's fun.
Yeah. King of the Monsters, do you have any?
Any closing thoughts?
Do you want to get off?
No, I don't know what you were asking for me.
Thoughts about the round two or Kong fight?
Oh, but I definitely thought that they did a good job endearing Kong to the audience and making you root for him. And definitely the second round kind of, it was from Kong's perspective. So I thought it was satisfying.
Koopa?
I quite like how you almost have this idea of like both monsters get to kind of win one fight, and then obviously you then have the tiebreaker, which Godzilla then wins. Then you have sort of Mechagodzilla come in, and it's sort of the bonus final battle almost, which it gives both monsters a chance to win in a way, in their own way.
Yeah, it's a nice compromise.
Yeah. And then round three, it was decisive Godzilla victory. He left Kong for dead. For anyone who's trying to say it was a tie or Kong was gonna die unless the guy exploded the heave.
Yeah.
Can I be a little discoursey and start be a little upset about the heave thing? That's the exact same story beat from King of the Monsters with the nuke, but Serizawa didn't get to survive that like Nathan did. That was bothered me.
I think the thing I also find quite funny is how you can clearly see that he's not blown that far away by the explosion, and yet it's still treated as if oh no, he's literally been splattered everywhere. He's dead. He's gone.
Nah.
And yeah, didn't they say something about the heave having enough power to light up a city block?
That's how they. That's
It's
the
the explosion looks very survivable, basically.
The thing that disappointed me is that after the heave exploded, they didn't use that opportunity to give Kong electrical powers. That's what I would have.
That would have been so fun.
I would have done that.
Peak Saturday morning cartoon.
Peak
I would have liked
show
that.
up.
I think the thing
Ironically, that monkey magic video on Twitter.
I think the thing I find the most amusing about the third fight is it's quite clear by that point that Godzilla's pride has been hurt. He is really just very annoyed at that point, and he wants to get rid of
baby.
Just that's it. No more playing fair. Die, basically.
Like when he goes on all fours, he just starts scratching and being just take it.
Yeah, literally throwing a tantrum.
I'm the king of the monsters.
What a baby. God damn it.
Gosh dang it.
How did Gia know Mecha was a villain?
I mean, it was fighting Godzilla.
And it blew up half of Hong Kong.
Yeah, it did make a show of destroying stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gio was just upset a living thing was being hurt, if anything, versus big robot. I think it wouldn't have mattered if Mechagodzilla was a good guy in this scenario, that she would have still signed the same thing to Kong.
I remember. So, we talked about how Godzilla was originally going to be controlled by Apex using the Orca Z. That was all cut out. And so what's left in the actual movie is that Godzilla goes out of his way to attack Kong because
he hate monkey.
Some sense of apex predator.
There can only be one, that kind of thing.
So are we getting Orca Super or Orca GT in the next one?
He went,
and then MonsterVerse.
Godzilla went out from his territorial waters to try to kill Kong during round one. So
because originally that's where the Orca Z was,
Yeah.
and that was out, so it doesn't make any sense. I guess he just detected him.
yeah,
He just hate that monkey. That's just it. He just hate that monkey.
yes, and Wingard mentioned that there was enough footage for a 5-hour cut of.
It's all assembly footage. Don't believe what he says. At most, it's another 2.5-hour movie.
We're gonna get I hope no one gets like Snyder cut energy from this. I don't want it. I don't want it.
It's all just footage of them looking around, confused, waiting for directions.
Like, don't get me wrong. I would love to see all the pre-viz stuff on the DVD. I would love to see what that looks like. But I don't need an actual like full 5-hour cut like the Snyder cut.
I would like to see the deleted scenes to see what movie we could have gotten, because I don't know if they kept all the characterization, if it would be a significantly better movie. I don't think we would have gotten that, but I just want to see what was there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you just release scripts to the public after the movie's on DVD.
Please,
release them.
for our sake.
So that a certain someone could get his hands on the script and tell us what we're wrong about, and say, it's in the script.
Godzilla could have his hand cut off and completely regenerated.
Actually, I think most of the Godzilla movie scripts from the Japan have been released officially. Like, there's the Shin Godzilla got, of course, bundled with the Art of Shin Godzilla, but we got the other scripts.
It's like
in special books that I have some.
Yeah, it's like who will show up out of the woodwork and say, actually, I totally think Godzilla could survive having his jaw blown off. He could regenerate it in 1 nanosecond. It's like, we know. If you know, you know.
Well,
I don't know who this is. They sound intolerable.
Oh, they are.
There's no reason to talk about.
Guy, let's just say.
I like that I'm the only one that knows peace here. It's like I just don't know who y'all talking about.
Oh, I'm trying to not. There's no reason to talk about that. Well, it's going to be 2 hours since this soon. So if we want to wrap it up soon.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think I've said my piece. Any last thoughts on the movie as a whole? Just want to reaffirm what we think?
My final word is, if this is the final film in the MonsterVerse tetralogy and they are going to do something new from here, then it's a perfectly serviceable conclusion. If the series is going to continue from here, it's a good anchoring point for wherever it's headed next.
I just want to say I really liked Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it was a lot of fun, and I think it was a good movie. I don't think it was a great movie, but it had its great moments. And I think that as far as the series goes, I'm not quite sure where I'd rank it, but it's definitely a movie I'd rewatch quite a bit. And as a Godzilla fan and a Kong fan, I was very satisfied, and this movie exceeded my expectations. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good movie. I don't want it to move in the direction that Wingard said in an interview that he might want to move it towards. But yeah, I would like to see more of it if it's the last of it, or if it's the last we see of Godzilla in the MonsterVerse. I think it's a very serviceable ending.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot riding on this movie going into it, but I was surprised by how much fun I had with it. And no matter what I say, I can't deny that I did have a lot of fun. Most of my issues with it, like the characters and whatnot, I just think that, like, the worst part about that is the implications going forward for this MonsterVerse series. If they decide, yes, we need to continue doing more character stuff like this, I don't want that. But
yeah,
yeah,
we need we just need good characters and good action. You just gotta mix them in there.
Human aspect, to speak more generally, because that can be confused with good human characters.
Good human characters, yeah.
Serizawa! In terms of monster fights, it's definitely set a new sort of baseline for those. Like, finally fighting in the day, finally fighting at night, but also in well-lit conditions. It's how it should have been.
Yes. They just threw away as Serizawa and Vivian Graham and all these other characters for no reason. It's like someone else has brought up, it's very much not like a cinematic universe in that none of the cast is recurring.
Do we think that's a Doherty choice, or do we think that's a studio choice?
I think that's an actor choice. Like, I didn't sign up for another movie. Please don't make me come back for another one.
Well, Doherty said he wanted to kill Vivian Graham. It's just like a haha moment.
Maybe that's just the excuse he gave. I don't know. I don't know what the actors think of these, but they do a good job when they're here.
Yeah. Well, I thought the movie was very fun. I liked it. That's it.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch it again.
So, why didn't they kiss? This is the part where you end it. This is the part where you end it. This is the part where you end it.
Just before we leave, there's a couple more. What if Zilla was in the next movie? He would look back to 2004. LOL. Thank you for the $7
I love Zilla. I would not turn that down.
It could be a fun
I'm
three-way crossover project with TriStar, Toho, and Legendary.
What the?
You know,
well, they don't need TriStar to be involved. Toho owns Zilla as a character. I think
Our
they
legal
need to.
complication needs to be as complicated as possible. That's part of my enjoyment.
What were you gonna say, Kinga?
I was just gonna say I like Zilla as a character, and I would love to see him as just another member of Godzilla's Rogues Gallery. So I'm all for if more Toho monsters show up for Zilla to be one.
Yeah. And then we have this other person who said, "How do you think MonsterVerse Godzilla stacks to others after this film?" What does that mean?
Like this film versus the other MonsterVerse films, like how we'd rank them, or
I think it means this version of Godzilla versus every other version of Godzilla.
The question that always must come up. I don't do power scaling, so
Me neither.
I'm not answering.
Everybody stop with the power scaling. It sucks. Nobody cares. You just Godzilla MonsterVerse is galaxy level. There, we settled it.
I'll say one thing. They're all my friend. That's it.
You know what, yeah, I'll take that answer too. They're all my best pal.
If we're gonna rank it in the tetralogy, I guess I would rank this film below Skull Island, but above King of the Monsters. So it'd be G14, Skull Island, this film, then King of the Monsters at the base.
Yes.
Yeah, that's agreeable.
Well, I put Godzilla 2014 at the bottom. Then it's a step above that, and it's kind of Kong Skull Island and King of the Monsters are about as enjoyable as each other to me. And then Godzilla vs. Kong is probably the most enjoyable. But so I like all the movies. I don't hate any of them.
Likewise.
Yeah, so mine, it's Skull Island first, the theater version of 2014,
Same.
Godzilla vs. Kong, then King of the Monsters, and then every DVD release of 2014.
Well,
Yeah, I would, from lowest to highest, I'd put King of the Monsters at the bottom, then this movie. It's fun, but I recognize it's not the best. Then Skull Island, that's pretty fun, and then 2014. I just like that movie a lot.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of hard to rank. I would say best is probably Skull Island, then Godzilla vs. Kong, then King of the Monsters, then Godzilla 2014.
everyone seems to think 2014 is the least interesting, or what's.
Well, I don't.
Well, a lot of people, not everyone. Golden, you count as a person too, I suppose.
Yeah, like I think 2014 is very good. I just think a lot of people don't like it because I don't think many people saw it in theaters, and they're stuck with the DVD version, which is unwatchable.
Yeah.
I think that's a very valid point to make.
I mean, I don't dislike any of the movies. I think they're all very good. But in terms of just like the raw enjoyment I get out of all of them, 2014 is the least.
Yes, I saw 2014 in the theater, and my theater was dead. Nobody reacted to anything that was on screen. Like
Mine did.
Everyone.
Mine really did. Mine was really enthusiastic when I saw 2014.
Just a coin toss whether they react or not.
They were dead silent during the big airport war. They were dead silent during the kiss of death. I heard other people cheered at those parts, but not me. So I walked out of there like, well, no, a little embarrassed because I brought my Godzilla 2004 12-inch figure in there, and it was like, oh well, nobody cares. Okay.
Golden is based. Everyone else is wrong.
So, what I was like surprised at, because I was out like talking with some friends, and they said like, "Oh, the new Godzilla vs. Kong, is that a sequel to King of the Monsters?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's also a sequel to Kong Skull Island and Godzilla 2014." And they're like, "Those were movies? Those came out? I didn't know there were other movies."
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's a good marketing question if Legendary was doing a good job with that.
It's been like 7 years since the 2014 movie. Almost 7 years.
Yeah, but people remember Iron Man 1.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like, Spider-Man was rebooted within like a 4-year period, wasn't he? And it took 4 years for King of the Monsters to come out.
I think like there needs to just be more put on of like in their marketing of just like, this is part of a series. There's more.
They should have more spin-off material as well. That's one thing they need to step up going forward, because otherwise it's just dead silent until like maybe a comic before the movie.
Yep. But
well, that's brilliant. Yeah.
That's I think that's about it.
Well, no, posted in the Discord. Imagine if the fake Godzilla theory actually was going to happen.
Please put it on screen, please.
Put it on screen.
Oh, I love him. He looks so bad.
Now they wouldn't be fooling anyone there.
I was a wimp before Anchor Arms. Now I'm a jerk and everybody loves me.
Make sure to post who the person who made that is on the stream too.
Fabio Alejandro. So, film theorists take the L for the incorrect theory, I suppose. Apparently, that's what the film theory was about, saying that it was actually fake Godzilla attacking. So,
bad luck, Matt Pat.
Their Skull Island theory was also incorrect. There's something that we've been mulling over to do, like a debunk on that, but it doesn't matter.
It's in the past. I think people realize it's not real.
Not.
I mean, I never pass up the ability to dunk on Matt Pat.
But yeah, that's probably all we have. I think some of us are ready to wrap up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Gaming.
what?
We're not gonna get to end on like just a random statement. It's just gonna keep going.
Funko Pops.
Stay in school, eat your veggies, do your homework.
And don't do drugs.
And fight your own battles, you know. No?
Don't listen to
have
Koopa. Do drugs, but just legal
I
ones.
agree.
Stay in vegetables.
Do all the cool drugs. You'll figure out which ones those are.
And with that, I think I'm gonna leave. Bye.
Okay then.
Adios.
Farewell, everyone.
And I'm the last one. Goodbye, everyone.